for him and his wife. There's certain things he would take. He got offered every leading man role, but that's not his path. And they didn't find that out until he was an Oscar winner. And they passed up $100 million at that point in their career. He'll be fine. He had plenty, but that's the kind of thing I didn't want to have happen to me. If I'm going to invest this kind of time and energy, I want to make sure I can see it through. So do the thing that scares you the most, or at least you can, to find out if you even belong.
To piggyback off of that, I would say to be open-minded. A lot of times we see ourselves a certain way and the world doesn't see us that way. I had a friend that was she had an interesting look, but in her mind she was like lead lady. And if she would just embrace that she was a character actress, she would have went through the roof. But in her mind she was stubborn because she believed what she thought she was. And when I started in the business 25 years ago as a model, I saw myself as a fashion model. Well, I'm 5'8", I was 135 pounds. They wanted me to be 5'9" and 115 pounds. So I had to get out of my own way because I was like, no, I think I'm that. And when you kind of like lose your ego and just be open-minded, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be on the radio, I wouldn't have any of these things if I would have just stayed in the lane that I thought I belonged in. So maybe if something comes along, if you don't think you're good at comedy and then you say, you know what, I'll try it. Or a drama, I can't do drama, you know what, try it. You may surprise yourself. And be pleasantly surprised. And again, we don't know everything we think we do, so if you could just tell your students to just like open up to, I tell my friends, I throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in a rap group when I was a kid. I mean, I had Bill bars. You didn't see the tape, did you? I'm just saying, just try a little bit of everything.
Any writers in here? This is Atlanta. Just somebody write for Claudia?
No.
You're not
I
rapping no more?
like that in the 90s.
You have to be open, Claudia.
I was trying it.
For me, piggyback off Brian and Claudia, I was a professional dancer. I went to school for dance. I actually started my career here in Atlanta. I was here for 5 years, and my agent, pretty much after the career of being a dancer and working with all the artists that I wanted to work with, my agent set me down and was like, I think you should go into acting. And I was like, no, I don't know anything about acting. And he was like, no, you're gonna go into acting. And he sent me to my first audition. It was for a show called Single Ladies. I went in, did the audition, didn't hear nothing from it, but I knew all of hair and makeup on the set. And crazy enough, my friend that did makeup on that set called me randomly out the blue and said, hey, the director wants to meet you. And I said, why? And he says, because I told her so much about you, get your ass down to set. So I went to set. The director seen me. She said, you are exactly what I'm looking for, but can you act? And I was like, yeah. Never did it before. This is my other than my first audition for Single Ladies. This is me walking on set of Single Ladies now. So she hands me the sides, and I'm reading the sides, and I'm like, no way. These are the same sides I auditioned with the casting director. So then I told her, I'm ready. She said, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. I'm ready. Let's go. I just gave you the sides. No, I'm ready. Let's do it. So I go in, do the audition. She said, you're hired. And that was my first job. So crazy enough, I finally sat with myself and I said, try something new, step outside my box. I always said to myself I was just gonna be a dancer. And the moment I started to do something new, it sticked. And after that, I got the originals. And after that, I did Nashville. And after that, I booked a movie called Bolden and we shot it here. And crazy enough about that movie, I was the dancer behind the lead actress that was playing this beautiful cello, and I was like mesmerized by her. I walked on set and I said, I want her job. 4 years after that moment, I have her job. That movie came out May 3rd in theaters, and I now play the muse of the movie.
My story is a little bit different. I'm from Chicago, Wild Honeys.
Hey, wow.
Yeah, God touched my soul and I started doing gospel. And I wrote a song called Justified as I was opening up for Donald Lawrence and the whole nine. And I got a phone call from a brother of mine, Malcolm, right over there on the corner. And he said, they want to use one of my songs for the soundtrack of the movie, the score. I'm like, no problem. 2 years passed. I ain't thinking nothing of it. I'm steady in my zone. I get a call by Mike Montesa. And we started talking. One thing led to another. My movie, next thing you know, I was doing a movie with Cat Williams called American Bad Boy, which I was singing in. And the rest is history. I finally got a big role here, and it's amazing. So I'm just humbled.
Well, my journey is definitely different. I always had a passion for show business. It just so happened my ex-husband is Kevin Hart, and he just blew up way before me. And so with him being so big, it's kind of been a struggle for me to like have people see me as something other than someone's ex-wife. So I actually was in American Bad Boy. Did you know that? Yeah, I know, right. I didn't know you were in it either, so that's crazy. Yeah, I'm in American Bad Boy with Cat Williams. I actually opened up for Cat Williams at the Microsoft Theater, opened up for Martin Lawrence. People like that are giving me an opportunity, so I thank God for that with as far as stand-up. I've written for a lot of comedians in the business. My ex-husband being one of them, and now I actually am able to shine my light, and I'm getting movie opportunities, which is a blessing. So I'm just excited that people are finally starting to realize, like, okay, this girl has talent too, so we gotta get her on board and get her in some projects. So if there's any producers and directors out there, I'm the next heart that's up and coming, so you better jump on this train now, because if not, you're gonna miss the boat, buddy.
I got one more thing I want to add to directly answer your question. It's for everybody. You got to believe that you are enough. All right? You are enough. It's not about anything else other than you. At the end of the day, it's you for 11 and a half hours on set, not acting. You get, maybe 30 minutes aggregate between action and cut. So it's really you that's going to be there. And an example of that is I went in to audition for a show called The Shield. And I was going in for a bad guy. And I put in like tinfoil on my tooth, and I wore a do-rag and all this shit. Like 500 people, excuse my language, like 500 people there. And I went in and I did my audition. And walked out, and Michael Chick was following me out of the room. Before I had auditioned, I talked to him for maybe 3 minutes as myself. Hi, I'm Ryan White, this is where I'm from, this, that, and the third, and I get into this Huggy Bear character. And he comes running out and goes, hey man, there's like 500 people in the waiting room. He goes, that was the worst audition I've ever seen in my fucking life. Like, that's the best 3-minute conversation we had right before the audition for any actor in the last week. He goes, can you come in there and be yourself? I think that's enough. Okay. And I went there and I did it again as Brian, and they opened the door and said, hey, everybody else, you can go home. And I did that show for 7 years. But just trust in you being enough, and make sure you let your light shine through. We all have one, and a lot of us go into a room, and now that I'm on the casting side of things, it's unbelievable the amount of things people do to themselves to sabotage an audition just because they're not letting themselves be themselves. Whatever's happening, and all of a sudden you're just like, stop, can I go again? You were killing it. You were about to get the job, but you let yourself think about some presentation version of the way you thought it was going to go. Just trust yourself. From the time you come in and say hello to the time you present yourself to the time you leave, thank you for the opportunity. And let it lie. As long as you do that, you're always going to have the best result that God intended for you.
Yes, my name is Danica Smith. I'm with Live Life Half Price as a travel advisor and blogger. My question, I was looking at the lemon tree and I saw, it gave me a nostalgic moment because I've been to San Francisco and Muir Woods, and that's what I've experienced. But I was wondering if there was any symbolism with the lemon tree because it kept going back to that lemon tree.
That's all me. So thank you for asking. The fruit was rotting. The seasons were changed. The fruit was rotting. It's basically, like that Nina Simone song. It's like straight fruit. It starts with, this is lemonade. This is what, the beginning of the movie starts with this beautiful, healthy lemon tree, not a lemon with a brown spot on it. And everything rots and deteriorates. And each one of the lemons represents the people that are dropping off the tree in the nuclear family, from myself to her to Columbus, to her being the last one. And I like the symbolism of it, and I needed an anchor spot that was the memory trigger, and the reason that he could always be. You know what he's thinking. It's a happy memory. Here you go, sir. That's from a narrative point what we were thinking about adding in as we started to weave that in, mostly in.
Hey, y'all. Good evening, everybody. Keith L. Brown, Mr. I'm Possible, because I believe it's not impossible, it's impossible. Motivational speaker, author, coach, trainer with the IPY Agency LLC. The first thing I want to do for the entire cast, GOODJOB, good job, everybody. GOODJOB, good job. So that's the first thing. The second thing, the second thing, Brother Brian, on a personal note, when we lose a loved one, the first thing we say, especially in the African American community, is be strong. So from brother to brother, tonight I want to give you permission to be weak. I want to give you permission to release, relax, and restore, and to carry your father's legacy doing that. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to be strong all the time. The next thing I want to ask the entire cast, I know you are all successful, but what makes you significant?
Success is something that, you know, that comes and goes. I've had it and lost it all 3 times. And I'm talking from balling to $40 in the bank and still being a celebrity and having to go on red carpets and pretend that I'm happy and then go home and think about taking myself out. And at that moment, being rock bottom, I realized that I didn't feel significant because I was basing my value on relationships or my success in a fake business. And I don't mean making movies, I mean Hollywood actually, a fake city, I should say. So I had to do some like deep soul searching and think about what made me great, what made me valuable, what made me significant. And it, you know, in my darkest, lowest moments, I started like giving back to other people with like whatever I had. Like literally going in my closet and giving girls dresses that couldn't go to prom. And just doing things like just getting my happiness from things outside of the business. Because when you're hot and you have a premiere and everybody like loves the thing they just saw, everybody loves you. And in between those jobs, when you can't get anyone to, you can't buy a job, you feel so low. There's nothing like being famous and unemployed and you feel like nobody wants you. And because we have like these high highs, a lot of times there's not a lot of sympathy for when you fall off. You know what I mean? Like they're like, so what? You rich? You got it all? I'm like, you don't really know the behind the scenes. There's a lot of your favorites that are out here that are really dealing with some things. You know what I mean? And I remember just being rock bottom and like I couldn't believe I got to the point of not wanting to be here. But thank God I had a friend that came over and saw me with, you know, outside of all that other stuff. And she said some things to me that like, you know, helped me and gave me that thing. So now my thing is like trying to pass it on to somebody else. You know, stopping someone else from kind of thinking about taking their life or thinking that they're insignificant. You know, like we have a tendency in our society, especially now, to think celebrities are just like the end all be all. And when people come up to me and say, I'm just a regular person, but I'm like, hold on, let me stop you right now. Nobody's a regular person. This does not make you a better person. It doesn't. It's a great job, it's fun. So I just had to get something from something else other than, you know, outside forces, and it has changed my life.